This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life. I got the meaning, and I got to write it down, because I don't want to forget it.
Just win, baby.
Welcome back to the Gold Jacket Podcast, proudly sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has it all. Daily, weekly, season-long best ball tournaments that are literally happening 365 days a year. Plus, you can play their pick and prop games where you get 5 picks right and you can win 20 times your money. Head on over to underdogfantasy.com, use the promo code TNFF, and you will get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. I'm your host, Gymnastic. You can find me on Twitter at GoldJacketQBs. I am joined, as always, by the other host of the show, Connor Donald. He can be found everywhere, but on Twitter, it's at Connor10, T-E-N, not the 1 and the 0. Proud members of the True North Fantasy Football Network. Make sure to check out the entire network on Twitter at True North FFB, on YouTube on the TNFF Network, and on the internet, TrueNorthFFB.com, where there's a bunch of shit there. Too much to even name. Tonight, we wrap up week 6. We look into week 7. We ask a couple questions here for some fantasy managers on what you should be doing, whether you are a contender or a pretender. But first, Connor, what's happening, buddy?
Not much, man. I'm excited. I mean, it's crazy to think that we are 6 weeks into the fantasy season. For many of us, this is likely really closing in on that halfway mark of the season before, playoffs are coming. I think, was it week 14, 15, 16, 15. So week 15. So we're pretty much just passing the third point of the season, fantasy season. So we removed the emergence star for this week. We're going to do some strategy talk for those teams that maybe 6-0, 0-6, maybe, on the bluff there, figuring out what do I do with my 2-4, 3-3 or 4-2 team. But before we do that, let's dive into some of the stories that matter this week. We'll start with the biggest one. Well, I mean, it's the biggest one, but it's not all that exciting. That is Robbie Anderson is moving to Arizona. Robbie Anderson, for those of you who may not have watched on Sunday, blew up at his wide receivers coach. I guess after blowing up at his wide receivers coach, Robbie Anderson got moved. So Hollywood Brown is going to the IR. He's expected to miss up to 6 weeks, and DeAndre Hopkins is returning. So some good, some bad, and some good again in Arizona for news. Jim, Hollywood Brown is probably a big loss for people, but I don't think people realize how much of an impact DeAndre Hopkins was going to end up having once he came into the fold. This offense hasn't looked all that great. Only good when they have to come back. But Hollywood Brown was not sustained in wide receiver 5. I think he's a wide receiver 5 on the season right now. I don't think he was ever sustained in that mark. Robbie Anderson showed a few glimmers of promise early on in the season. Robbie Anderson is pretty much just a replacement for Hollywood Brown, who will have no value in 6 weeks when Hollywood Brown comes back. DeAndre Hopkins is a guy. I don't even think he has value while Brown's out, to be completely blunt. No, you are correct, Jim. DeAndre Hopkins is a guy to own. He was my guy to buy last week. If somebody said I want to first, maybe call them crazy and say, how about a second and, Paris Campbell, or second and someone maybe you're frustrated with who might be emerging, second and Alec Pierce even, I probably would even have considered moving for DeAndre Hopkins, especially if you're in it to win it. DeAndre Hopkins is a guy to own. Hollywood Brown's a good second to own when he comes back, but man, he has been plagued by foot and leg issues since pretty much coming into the season. While he hasn't missed a whole lot of time, the injuries are there, and he appears on a lot of injury reports, and how much does it affect his game? Who knows? But we all know DeAndre Hopkins is getting 10 targets a game from here on out, and not a target less. I don't know if you got anything to add on that, Jim, for Arizona, Robbie, Hollywood, DeAndre.
No, actually, because we were saying that earlier in the beginning with the NFC West roundup that Nuke Hopkins could be a potential league winner, of the fact that where he was going in ADP, and now with Hollywood Brown when he's coming in, a playbook that is going to take a few weeks for sure to end up getting to fully know. If anything, I think the big benefactor out of this one, not obviously it's going to be Nuke, because Nuke was going to take those targets regardless if it was going to be Hollywood there or not. It is the tight end position where I think you're going to see a lot of sustained target share now there for at least another 2-3 weeks, where you can see a pretty big boom game happening. We'll get to that in a little bit, but you know what I mean?
Definitely. Zach Ertz is going to be a major beneficiary.
And you're going to see a nice window open up in this cold, chilly October weather where you can sell him and slam that door shut and get the furnace rocking. But yeah. Anyway, that's sorry.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Dak Prescott's returning. This is massive. This is incredible news for the Dallas offense, because last week
is it?
I think it is. It couldn't be any worse than last week when they made Cooper Rush take his time and make decisions and decide to throw the football. He looked terrible.
Oh.
Because
we're just throwing out all those wins, eh?
That
tossing them out the window.
What was he doing?
One loss to an undefeated team, and you're like, this kid sucks.
But what was he doing for fantasy? What was he doing for fantasy?
Oh, absolutely
he was murdering people's value. He gave you Jake Ferguson, the top 12 tight end, a first appearance this past week, which I actually like Jake Ferguson through the draft process for fantasy value. But this is huge for Dak Prescott. This is huge for Dak Prescott managers. They've been waiting for this. It's been probably a long run, a tough run with the concussions, their quarterbacks, the up and down play of quarterbacks. So having Dak Prescott back will definitely be nice, because that offense is about to churn a lot better. For the Tony Pollard managers, I think this is really good. I think Tony Pollard has not gotten his receiving benefits that I thought he was going to get, because Cooper Rush has not been as good as, well, I don't think he was ever anticipated to be very good, but he hasn't been good enough to sustain many receiving weapons. And then Gallup's just getting healthy, so Gallup managers are going to be in a good spot, and CD Lamb managers, this is all around a great thing for the Dallas offense. And I think, kind of like you were alluding to, I think pieces of the Dallas offense are going to be major helpers, potential league winners going forward, because they're going to blow that playbook wide open. I know that week one, Dak Prescott, the offense wasn't churning all that well, and people are talking about it. That's just the extended preseason game that the starters don't get to have. So trust me, maybe not right off the bat, but within a couple weeks, this offense is going to be looking good and churning very well. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but perfect,
nope.
Jim. Perfect.
No, I don't.
What about this one? This one I want your opinion on, because we've talked about this one. I think the guy taking over is very similar to the guy that just went down with an injury. I think the guy who just went down with an injury, if this offense starts to work, won't have a job in 4 to 6 weeks. Carson Wentz is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, fractured his finger, I do believe. Taylor Heineke is in line to start. Again, he is back. I'm going to say this. The impact of the offense is a plus. It's 100% a positive. We saw these guys last year in this offense. Terry McLaurin was better with Taylor Heineke.
They weren't fantastic.
They weren't fantastic.
They weren't lights
better
out,
than
but I mean,
what they are now.
Listen,
look at what they are now.
I'm on record saying they shouldn't have traded for Wentz. Let Heineke roll. If you're going to end up doing it, do it right. Do it with Heineke. Do it with a guy. Would I trade Deontay Johnson for Travis Etienne? Current makes just boom. Current wide receivers: Evans,
Hold up. Let's pop this up. Would you trade Deontay Johnson for Travis Etienne? Current running backs, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker. Current wide receivers, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Drake London, and Adam Thielen. Funny that this is brought up because you're Randy, you are kind of jumping the gun on my fantasy buy. But with that in mind, my fantasy buy was meant as a buy low. Things seem to be turning in Etienne's favor based on like touches, based on touches and snap share. He's owned snap share the last 2 weeks over James Robinson now. Like, I think, to be honest, I think I'd probably do it. I'd want the Deontay Johnson side. I don't think I'd want the Etienne side. So would you trade
Deontay for Jacksonville or for Etienne? Would I trade Deontay for Etienne? No, I think I can get a better running back.
I agree. I think people are low on Deontay.
And you're talking about a game where they've never shut out the last 2 weeks. Like, if Jacksonville closing it out games is James Robinson. They were playing from fucking behind. Those are 2 Travis Etienne games. You can't take those into effect. Those are 2 division.
Whoa. We have to take everything into consideration, Jim.
No, you can't say
you're a J-Rob guy. It's not fair.
But you can't say that's a massive swing. Those are 2 games where they're playing from behind the entire game, where those aren't J-Rob games. Those aren't close out the clock games. Those aren't run it out and try to close it.
But you don't want to have to lean on a running back who his job is to close out games for you. You want a guy you can trust to foot the load. And
you can't have a team that's going behind fucking early on where they got to end up abandoning the run.
What if this is the Jacksonville Jaguars of the rest of the year?
What if suck?
This is the Jaguars?
Did they suck?
What if they're still a year or 2 away?
Well, then maybe they should have called for fucking DJ Moore, like I said last week.
That doesn't, Jim, that's not the point of this situation. What if this is a predicament? There's a better chance that this is a sub 500 football team than an above 500 football team.
Okay, how about this? Would you rather trade for Travis Etienne right now, knowing where he's going to be and stay, or would you rather trade for a Cam Akers, kind of segueing into that next one, where you don't know where he's going to be, where he's requested a trade?
I don't trust Cam Akers either. Like, I don't trust that situation. And you, like, just because you're forcing your way out of town doesn't mean there's anybody waiting in line saying, I want that guy to be my lead back. I think his Cam Akers' opportunity to be a lead back has kind of gone to the wayside at this point. Look around. Where are you going to put Cam Akers where he's
than Etienne? Personally,
but to answer the question,
no, I wouldn't.
Randy, I think we're both on the side of no. Keep Deontay Johnson.
I would keep Deontay, but I mean, especially if the fucking Claypool gets moved, like you were saying.
And Joe Mixon and Kenneth Walker are those. I think Kenneth Walker can be a league-winning tight end. I think I'm talking about him in my. League-winning running back. I think I'm talking about him later on in this episode too, down in the show sheet as in Golden Fool's Gold at the running back position. Kenneth Walker manhandled that opportunity share last week among the running backs. There's no doubt in my mind the only thing standing in Kenneth Walker's way of being a top 12 running back was Rashad Penny.
Which was never in doubt. He sucked.
And he was like, despite this circumstance, they are adamant in Seattle of having a run game and making a run game work. That is a disgusting reality of that situation. And it's kind of working in Seattle. So I think that they're going to keep going that way. And of course, Joe Mixon's probably going to end up as a top 12 running back too. So I don't see weakening. Like, I don't know if you can guarantee week in and week out Travis Etienne is a comfortable flex play. Whereas your current wide receivers with Deontay Johnson, you could play all of them on any given week. Flex plays or in your wide receiver slot. I don't think I would confidently play Etienne. At this point, I don't confidently play J-Rob or Travis Etienne, even in my flex spot. Because now we've seen, like you said, Jim, when the pendulum swings from a negative to a positive game script, where the tide goes on which running back is being used. So you need to be certain of the situation that you're getting, the in-game situation, which you can't guarantee at the running back position. I don't know. You want to add anything on that, Jim? You're muted.
No, just what running back would you be more inclined to try to trade Deontay for then?
Oh boy. Let me pull up some of the I gotta take a look at some of the running backs right now who are hanging around. Like I think I do Ramondre Stevenson. Like if you want like a certain I don't know if Randy, I don't know if you're in it to win it. But I mean, if you're in it to win it, like Ramondre comes off as somebody who I think he's running away with the job. And Damian Harris won't get much of the share back. See, Deontay's so young. Deontay's still young. He's still good. Like, I just think that people
he's
are
locked in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, I think people are just set aback by how bad the offense is in Pittsburgh that they think that Deontay, this is real Deontay. The last 2 years are so much more consistent than this 1 year, which means this 1 year is likely your outlier. And I think people are trying to get in on a buy low or a low stance on Deontay Johnson. And I just wouldn't be prepared to do that. Like, I think you'd need a solid running back in return, like a gimme RB1. And I just don't know if anyone would be willing to pay that price. You got Mixon and Walker. You got your gimme ones. Like, you'd have to look for another gimme RB1, I think, in return, Jim. I don't know. Do you have a running back in mind? Like, I'm even skeptical of Ramondre Stevenson, but I think like that is where you could realistically ask a manager and they would probably heavily consider it.
I'd look for Aaron Jones.
I actually scroll by him and I'm like, man, Jim's going to say Aaron Jones. I thought about saying Aaron Jones too. So
Aaron Jones would be the one I'd go for, because there's just a stigma that AJ Dillon's going to take this fucking job away that I don't see him taking or being able to take, to be honest with you. And even if they got rid of Aaron Jones, okay. He's a fucking starter. He's not a committee back. Like, and if he is a committee back, he's a 73rd committee back. That's just my thoughts.
AJ Dillon is averaging 9.3 points per game. Aaron Jones is averaging 13.4 right now. And the offense hasn't exactly run well, but imagine if it starts running well. Like, Aaron Jones is still the RB14 right now. So you're getting a fringe RB1. You're getting a guy you're going to confidently start every week. Whereas ETN, I don't think so. Ramondre is certainly getting to that category for me. He is showing that you can.
Ramondre, I think, is already skyrocketed. He showed that he can, like, what he can do. I think his value is a little too high right now.
It might be
in
tough,
regards
but like
to the suppressed value of Deontay. He had something, even though I don't think you should. I think that the talent of Deontay is greater than the talent of Ramondre. But just the fact of the pendulum swing right now, people have seen 2 monster games of Ramondre Stevenson when nobody's been in his way, and Deontay's been going to the wayside. So with that, meanwhile, Aaron Jones has the stigma of he's declining, even though he's been showing straight, consistent games all season. He's been showing you exactly what you want. So I think you can actually get Jones for equal value or a little bit lesser value, where you might even be able to get something thrown in there. I'm not 100% sure, but that's asking a lot. That's my thing. Like, I agree with Ramondre being a guy, but I think you're going to have it in there like Deontay in a third. And I don't think you have to, but I think you're going to have to, just because of the feeling on Ramondre.
I like it.
Anyway,
what about Taylor Heineke? You got anything more you want to add?
Oh, I fucking love the kid, but I've been saying for a long time they should have just stuck with it. If you wanted to have, no, honest to God, if you really want to build an offense and you thought your quarterback away, fucking let's be honest, you weren't just because you are a whole toxic level of fucking bullshit before you roster build away. You just stick with the kid. He's cheap. Why would you invest in one of the most expensive positions? And I think it's hilarious that Carson Wentz is going to get Nick Foles again. Like, oh my God, if Taylor Heineke steps, or even like, I mean, I don't expect him to even fucking push for the division with the Giants and fucking cycles over here, and Cooper Rush just like, hitting the backup boogaloo, keeping Dallas hitting the, and your Philadelphia Eagles there just rolling high and mighty there, undefeated. So I mean, this is always make fun of saying in the NFC least, but this is the NFC beast right now when it comes to the NFL. So like, do I think Washington really has a sufficient shot? No, because this division is absolutely rolling, and the sleeper playoff team is going to be the Knights. But I think he has just enough to keep the ship straight. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to do any worse than Carson Wentz was going to do. And if you owned him, the hope that he was going to get the chance and the shot. I mean, this seems to be a year with Matt Daddy Jones down and Dak Prescott, anybody else with the last part of the names for the Dak going down in the quarterback position. Quarterback, maybe you can get a for him. Maybe you can throw in there in a package deal that's happening in Superflex League. So opened up, take your opportunity.
I like it. Last but not least, Cam Akers. Obviously, we all know the drama that has unfolded in LA with him. He ended up being out for personal reasons Sunday, and then it kind of came to reality what actually ended up happening, and basically he wants out. Where do you want to see him? And do you think he can get somewhere where he can recoup the fantasy value that was so sky high last season prior to the torn Achilles?
That's a tough one. To think about it, honestly, I mean, they won't go for it, but Miami would be sexy. If you know what I mean, that I'm not Raheem Mostert, he's the guy. But I think Miami would be sexy if they had a fully healthy offense. Who else do I think would be all right there?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you, Jim, in regards to like he needs to go somewheres where it's like a win now team, where it's a team that you can trust, but his usage, I'm so suspect with the usage and what type of usage he could possibly get when a lot of these back rooms are already
I don't even think there's a win now team that needs him.
No, I agree.
What now team would need him?
And like it's a huge
Buffalo, but they already got fucking 3.
Yeah, they just make the situation worse. Like I don't think there's anywhere you can trust that he's gonna recoup that fantasy value that you hoped that he was gonna be. Like I think this is just one of the downs of the NFL that in a pit he might not be able to get out of, especially when teams are gonna look and say, we're not gonna give you a bunch for Cam Akers. Look at this running back draft class, look at this running back free agency. I'll just go out and buy. I'll just go out.
Sexy.
Yeah, like I'll just go out and draft one. I'll go out and I'll sign one in the offseason. Why would I need Cam Akers if you're asking prices this or that? So I just don't know if there's going to be any team in a situation where
you who's losing money this year, Connor?
Who's that?
You know who's losing money this year? Fuck Melvin Gordon. After 3 carries last night, he gets Latavius Murray has already seemed to have overtaken. He's a free agent next year. I understand he was in with a neck injury into the Monday, but even he says he was not told the bench, and he is baffled. That guy's losing money.
Definitely.
No, pack on the bat. Barrett's pack on the bat there for told you guys pick him up, and he was not active in that first week's game because it wasn't going to take him long. And boom. I mean, it wasn't a great game, but the touches were there. The whole team sucks. Touches were there.
I love it. So we are mixed on Cam Akers. We will react when he finds a new home. But I just want to dive in very quickly. As we're already 25 minutes deep, we got really into talking trade, which was good because I was talking strategy. What do you do if you're an 0-6 team right now? What if you're sitting there, you're completely, whether it be injuries, whether your team's just not good, what can you do to better position yourself? Let's kind of talk a bit of strategy for 10 minutes.
All right, Connor. Well, why don't you start off and tell me what you would do? Well, I pull up an actual 0-6 team because I have 6-0. I have a middling team, and I do have an 0-6 team. So I'll pull that team up right now for you.
Okay, I like that. I like that you have a
second.
bit
It's
of
hard.
each to share. And
I got a bit of
let
each.
us.
I got some bangers. I got some shit.
0-6 to me, I really think that you have to take the time to decide what direction you want to go. Maybe the injury bug has just completely riddled you, and you think that you're a team that can win it on any given season. Then there may not be very much you have to do. But if you're an 0-6 team and your team is really bad, you have you have to essentially commit to the rebuild. You have to sell any pieces that are worth value and try and get the juice there, get the squeeze out of the juice, and try and get multiple firsts for some of the bigger players. Find a core. If there's a core guy that you can keep, a really good young receiver, like you have a Jamar Chase or you have a Justin Jefferson, that could be like a core. You got to find your core and the guys that, I don't know if I'd say they're untouchable because no one should be untouchable, but kind of get yourself in a situation where you have a core couple of guys and then just fire sale on a bunch, take some chances on some guys, make sure you get some first round picks in return. And that's a good place to start because then those firsts, as we know, gain more and more value. And then come draft time, you might be able to build by trading those firsts away instead of using those firsts. You could be able to pair them with some players that you have. You could be able to make your rebuild turn into a retool very quickly as people garner higher value in the first round picks. So I think first of all, you have to decide, am I a team that was just bit by the injury bug, or am I a team that's just really bad and I'm in a position where I got to really start rebuilding or retooling? You got to decide what direction you want to go, because at this point, there's a good chance, depending on the size of your league, you're likely not getting into the playoffs this year. But on the flip side, you don't want to blow it up if you have a team that could return to a better status next year.
All right. So I'm going to share the screen with my 0-6 team. Okay. Just a second. Share the screen. All right. So you see? Perfect. All right. It's not good. I am definitely weak when it comes to wide receivers, and I knew this going in. So my quarterback is obviously Ryan Tannehill. And I got hit with DeAndre Swift getting injured. James Robinson. Again, not strong when it comes to the wide receivers.
Kyle Phillips went down with an injury, so that didn't help either.
No, it didn't help. Paris Campbell popped, but that's okay. Kittle, he's always injured. Walker, now he's taking a lead. This is where I'm having an issue. Do I keep him for my rebuild into the next year, or do I try to sell him? Josh Reynolds, here's a guy that I'm actively trying to sell that he's popped. Donovan Peoples-Jones and Jimmy G. Another two guys, I'm 0-6. It's fine, whatever. Is what it is. I might as well try to get rid of these guys. Possibility of them ever getting run, slim to none. My bench is absolutely terrible. Now, I'll tell you, not every single league is good, right? I'll just be honest. It's a 14-team dynasty. Went in on some guys, took some other guys out. It's not very good, like Nico Collins, I probably went a little stronger in than I should have. Allen Robinson, I thought he would pop. Keenan Allen just looks like he's going to end up dying on my bench. But these are some guys that I'm trying to get out on. You know what I mean? Like DJ Dallas, I thought maybe he had a chance with Penny going down, right? Maybe split something up there with my boy Kenny Walker. Tyler Algier, still out on him, trying to see what I want to get. See if I can get anything. Right, Julio Jones, guy that's going to die on my bench. Jamison Williams. Here's a guy I've actually been getting a little bit of interest in. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I want to get rid of him. He's not really taking up any spots on my bench as of right now. And I like the talent, but is there room for him there with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Hawkinson and Swift? I'm not 100% sure. So, Connor, let me ask you, with that team, what would you be doing? Who would you be putting up? What would you be looking to get back from?
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
I have 2 firsts going into next year as well.
Oh, well, see, that's a good start. Like, I think you're in a position if you have 2023 first, I think you're in a position.
And one of them's mine.
Which is obviously probably going to be number one overall. No offense, as long as you don't have a toilet bowl or something to decide that. But yeah, like the fact that you're positioned with 2023 first, I think you're in a position to kind of consider yourself almost rebuilding. Like,
oh, I'm going to rebuild.
Kenneth Walker's definitely going to be the guy currently with the best value. I told you guys, I made a deal in a league where I felt I was in a better position to be kind of middle of the pack, see what happens. But I also had 2023 first. So I was like, I don't need to make this deal, but I made it. It was Kenneth Walker, Rashad Bateman, a 2023 first and a 2025 first for Mike Evans and Kenneth Walker. I moved on. Oh no, Javonte Williams was who I got. I mixed up. Javonte Williams, Rashad Bateman, 2023 first, 2025 first, and I sent Mike Evans and Kenneth Walker. I picked up Mike Evans, expecting him to, as you mentioned, die on my bench at some point. Like I was going to ride that ship down. And whenever it went down because he's getting older. His play style, you just didn't know how much longer it was going to last. There's other guys in win now mode. This is where you find your league mates who are in win now mode, and you take the chance to make that type of move. He didn't have a 2024 first. I should preface it. I wanted a 2024 first. Keep them closer together, but whatever. I'll take what I can get to continue my build in the future. But he's a guy who, like, I think it's a good time to go out hunting for like the Javonte Williams manager. I feel like he's a guy that people are getting lower on that you can get on your roster, who when he comes back, he'll be 24 years old. Yes, he'll be in the prime of his career. You might get 2 or 3 years out of him, but look at what he was. Look at the prospect that he was. Like, you know, maybe there's an opportunity there to work with that guy. Jameson Williams, I think he's got to play to get the best value out of him. But like Jameson Williams to me is a guy, like they traded up 20 spots to get Jameson Williams on their roster. Am I worried about anybody around him? No, what I'm worried about is who they get in at the quarterback position, because that's all that matters. Can they end up sustaining these multiple weapons? But you don't trade up 20 spots to not use him or to not have him be a core of your franchise. Like Jameson Williams, to me, if I was you, Jim, would be one of the guys that I build around unless I get a no way, gotta smash this offer. Like he's one of those guys that I would build around. But that's kind of the idea. I get like Kenneth Walker. He's on a not very good team. The offense is questionable. They're kind of getting lucky right now. But that's kind of the direction I would go. Like, I think that's definitely a rebuild team, and you take the pieces that you have and you just start a fire sale, but build around what you think you can build around. Like, I don't know if Kenneth Walker and Jameson Williams are where I'd be for like the core pieces. Like, I think I'd be open to moving Kenneth Walker.
I think my core pieces are going to be Swift, to be honest.
Yeah, it's got to be Swift. Swift would garner you incredible value, but by not moving, like having Swift, like Walker is expendable. I feel like Walker's more expendable.
I think Swift piece I want to build around and try to sell Jimmy G, Kenneth Walker, fuck me. Tyler Algier, if he hits. If anybody,
see, that's the thing. Like
Keenan Allen,
Keenan Allen too.
Just
like
take the picks.
Those are guys to move on from. Like Keenan Allen, definitely. Tyler Algier, get like hopefully in a couple weeks, over the next few weeks, he hits, because Atlanta is stubbornly stuck to the run as well. But he hasn't hit like you wanted with Cordero Patterson out of the picture. But if you can start flipping these guys like Keenan Allen for at this point, a single first might be all you get, or a young guy, like a single first and a young guy who hasn't popped that you could take the chance on. Like, but I don't think you're getting multiple firsts back. Jimmy G, if he pops, like, and we're going to talk about him later because he's somebody I've in gold and fool's gold. Like, you just need a good week where he pops and someone can say, I need that guy, or I think I want that guy. If this Russell Wilson injury becomes something, maybe the Carson Wentz manager who's contending is out now, of one of their important quarterbacks, like, you need Jimmy G to pop. Like, even Ryan Tannehill, I'd be willing to move, but at this point, he's not doing anything to help fantasy value wise. So that's definitely my say. I agree with you. Don't let those guys rock. Keenan Allen's not worth your time anymore. It's time to move on. Kenneth Walker, I don't think he's someone to build a blue chip build around piece, but I think at this point he's garnering one plus first value. And like I kind of showed it in my deal, he garnered me significant value, and all I had to throw back was Evans. Maybe you need to pair Keenan Allen and Kenneth Walker in a deal to get like that type of return of a more frustrating player, younger player that you could build around, like a Rashad Bateman who's been struggling with injuries and stuff. But I like it. You're definitely trending in a better direction if you start moving those pieces.
All right. Do you want to talk about? Hold on.
A 6-0 team. Give me something nicer to look at.
Well, it's an 11-1 team because we play against the median, but you get the idea. Let me share this screen. Hold on. So this team, I am 11-1. Let's see if it comes up. Trevor Lawrence, James Robinson, Aaron Jones, Amon-Ra, Michael Pittman, Mecole Hardman. Again, not really strong with the wide receiver. I do have an idea of what I want to do with this team. Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, Derrick Henry, and again, Jimmy G. So Jimmy G is, again, a guy that I'm looking to try to move off of. But this one, I'm obviously a serious contender. I am number one in the league, and I am 11-1. But I do have Russell Wilson, Zach Wilson, Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray is the guy I'm trying to move off of. DeAndre Swift will go in the lineup as soon as I know that he's going to be a solid contributor and not questionable in there. Oop, didn't mean to hit that. Sorry. Why did that not? That was weird. Sorry. Again, I didn't really do too much. Stephon Diggs coming off. Julio Jones, this is a guy, again, cheap as shit. So I got him on a lot of teams. Kadarius Toney. Believe in talent. Odell Beckham, just haven't gotten around to just dropping because I haven't seen anybody got the empty bench spaces to go with guys. I just recently picked up Jalen Guyton, knowing he was on the IR, but just to stash him on the IR. I still got three empty spaces, and then there's my taxi squad with Cade Otton, Zamir White, and Christian Watson. So, Connor, what would you be looking for on this team being a contender? Would you be looking to get out of? It's a mix, man. Like I'm
you're in a mixed bag. Yeah, you're definitely in a mixed bag. Definitely Jimmy G is someone I'd look to move off of because you do have Russell Wilson and Zach Wilson. Maybe Russell Wilson, if whoever's going to garner you better value is probably the better one to move off of. Because if someone prefers Russell Wilson, like you're kind of built in a way, you have Zach Wilson. And who was your other starting quarterback?
Trevor Lawrence.
And you youth, like you got young quarterbacks, so you don't need Russell Wilson if somebody's more interested. You don't need Jimmy Garoppolo. Like you're in a position where
I think I need Jimmy G this year just because he's better than these other two. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's my thing. I don't want to get rid of Jimmy G for nothing. And then because I'll be honest, Jimmy G has been we'll talk about him in a little bit later going on. But Jimmy G has actually been decent. He was a guy I kept based on the fact that I didn't believe in Trey Lance. I thought they were going to move off him because I thought Zach Wilson might have issues this year. And fucking right. I was right about that last week. Like, I wouldn't have won with Zach Wilson last week.
No, definitely
what I
not.
mean?
That's the thing with Zach Wilson. There's some growing pains. And Trevor Lawrence, it's showing there's some growing pains as well, but they may have a very bright future. Just kind of, you may have to hold Jimmy G, but you might be able maybe move Russell Wilson. Lat Murray, you
Like,
like
I like Diggs
yeah, Diggs is great. That's someone you keep. That's a core
and Swift,
piece.
but
And
I'm thinking
Swift,
about
yeah.
like Laddie Murray and a Russell Wilson Denver duo. Just try and maybe a Kadarius Toney. What did you think about that?
As pieces you're moving off of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see those being pieces to move off of. Like Russell Wilson, where's his value at right now? He's kind of tanking the value. He's definitely not cooking. He's lost in the kitchen at this point. And
I'm not even sure I want to get like value off him though. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't.
But which doesn't like
I
at the
don't
end of the
know.
day. At the end of the day, I don't necessarily believe you have to get like huge value off of the guy. I mean, it is a super flex league, so you should be able to get like I feel like he should still have 1 times first value at least. But like you might have to wait for him to pop off a couple games and kind of show that that offense isn't completely dead in the water. Maybe show that maybe it is Nathaniel Hackett. Maybe that's where the problem lies. Maybe he's a one and done like Josh Daniels a few years back. Maybe that's just what Nathaniel Hackett might be. But it's just like you just need to be able to continue like to sustain the build. I find like in 6-0 teams, it's about sustaining the build without giving the pieces away that end up blowing your team up and making you a middle of the pack team or a team that suddenly has to enter a dramatic rebuild. So you kind of have the pieces already in place. Amon-Ra St. Brown, too, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Swift, and Trevor Lawrence. You already have a good core of pieces. It's about continuing to be able to build on that while moving off of some pieces that you can afford to move off of at this point. Definitely for a 6-0 team. We're at 42 minutes, so give me your opinion on if you're 2-4, 3-3, or 4-2. We don't really need an example necessarily. What do you tell the people who are in the middle of the pack?
Take a look at the rest of your league. See how much disparity there is in between. Because a couple of leagues, like I said, I'm in where I'm 3, and I think I'm pretty shitty. But then I look at the entire field, and it's like one team that's 5-1. And from 2 to 7, we are either 3-3 or 4-2. You know what I mean? Like, it's real close. So take a look at your league. Take a look at your league mate. See how real close you are, and take a look at the rosters to try to find out if you are, a got lucky 3-3 team or got maybe bit by some misfortune 3-3 team, and if you have a real shot in your league of not only making the playoffs, but doing something in the playoffs. Because making it to the playoffs and limping out is probably the worst thing you can do for your for your team in the league. Though seriously, like honest to God, you keep your first. It's what, like 6 now? Great, that's awesome. Everybody likes the 6, 8. Like So yeah, take a quick look.
And I think the biggest thing to note there is look at points for and points against. Like if you have a couple guys like running away 6-0, 5-1, and their points for are like 200, 300, 400 over the rest of the pack, that they are not just a getting lucky team. That is a team that's
they're smashing teams.
Exactly. But then if you look at yours and you have a really low points against and a really low points for, you're probably catching some luck. If you're at 3-3 or 4-2, you're probably catching some luck. You probably face a guy who's 0-6 tanking, or 2-4 doesn't realize his team's not that good, and he's like you trying to figure out what to do. Like you got to look at and analyze the points for and points against plus the rosters, but points for and points against definitely will tell you a ton about what you need to know about where your roster is versus some other people's rosters, because the lucky guys are not sitting atop the points for category. The lucky guys have the near even points for and points against and are getting lucky on some given weeks. But definitely something to look at.
But that's why I like league median too.
Mm-hmm.
Like league
I am not in
median's
many
a lot
leagues
of
like
luck.
that.
neither am I, but I like it. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I can lose out to you being, the second highest scoring team, lose out to the top scoring team, still take the win though, and go 1-1. Because I have done a bet. My team is better than the 10 to 12 team. I did put up 287 points opposed to like 150. You know what I mean? Like just shit like that.
I like it. That's enough strategy talk for now. We
Jesus.
probably should move to gold and fool's gold, and we will touch on players to buy and players to sell. Maybe next week we'll double down on a couple so that we can address the ones we wanted to talk about this week too. So that's good.
You might hit them up with a quick double later on. We'll hit them up with quick doubles. Players to buy, players to sell.
I like it.
Too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I want to hear some goal from my band here. Let's hear it.
Quarterback. I got Jimmy G. I told you, gold quarterback up against the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a method to the madness here. Kansas City has allowed all quarterbacks to score at least 19 fantasy points, which is a gimme QB1. Definitely you're getting at least a QB12. All quarterbacks have scored at least 2 touchdowns, and 5 straight weeks they've allowed at least 220 plus passing yards. That's just how games work with Kansas City. You have to score a lot of points to keep up, so you're going to throw the ball a lot. Since taking over starting in week 3, Jimmy G has 25 plus pass attempts in all the games, 200 plus yards in all the games, and is currently riding back-to-back games with 2 touchdowns. It's all just panning out perfectly for Jimmy G, especially if you're in a league holding him and you're looking for a sell window. This is going to be a game where I think Jimmy G pops and gives you that. Fool's gold, Jared Goff up against Dallas Cowboys. Goff has over 215 yards in all 5 of his games. However, he has a 32nd ranked protection rate, a number 2 danger and interceptable pass rate, and has completion percentages that rank in the bottom 12 across the entire board, including, most importantly, pressured percentage, which ranks 31st. He's going against a Cowboys team that ranks number 1 in pressure percentage, so they are going to be coming after Jared Goff all night and making his life hell. Dallas hasn't allowed a quarterback to score over 20 points yet this season, and only 2 quarterbacks have managed 200 yards. Only 1 QB has managed a multi-passing touchdown game. So avoid Jared Goff despite kind of the boom he's been giving you and the confidence to possibly play him. Jim, you got any fool's gold, anybody you want to touch on quickly?
You know what? This is going a little bit too long. I'm loving this, though, through you. I will...
Especially Jimmy G. You just love Jimmy G. You're like, give me that window. Give me that window. Running back, I told you I'd talk about him. Kenneth Walker, gold against the LA Chargers. This is the only time I'll use Kenneth Walker. I kind of felt like it was a cop-out, but with Penny out, this is Walker's backfield, and he has a high likelihood of, if healthy, being a league winner for you. He carried the ball 21 times last week and has seen 3 targets in 2 out of 5 games. 3 out of 5 games. Sorry. To me, he's a smash play every week. Put him in your running back spot, and except for the bye week, he's safe to play. He may not see a lot in PPR from a target perspective. Like I said, 3 targets in 3 out of 5 games, but it was like dead on 3 targets. So hopefully the carries are there and the yardage is there like it has been when he took over when Penny got hurt and last week. Chargers, prior to a blah and confusing Broncos backfield, which they saw on Monday night, allowed 4 straight running backs to go for over 100 scrimmage yards, including 3 straight 100-yard rushers. They're the 4th worst against the run, giving up 28.3 points per game. And this is pretty much Kenneth Walker's going to own this entire backfield. So you know that he's going to be the guy who can potentially pop off for like a 25-plus point night. Fool's gold for me, David Montgomery against the New England Patriots. I told you last week, fool's gold, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb probably let you down against the same New England Patriots defense. It's a big bye week, so there's probably a lot of you out there who are going to be forced into playing David Montgomery in your running back spot, and the workload definitely warrants it and definitely provides you with a cushion for confidence. But New England shut down Chubb and Hunt last week. They haven't allowed a running back to go over 15 points. Granted, getting 12 to 14 out of your running back probably disgustingly enough gives you a top 24 running back. I think last week the running back 24 had like 9.3 points. It's putrid right now. They are second best against fantasy running backs at 17.1 points per game. David Montgomery could give you a low end RB2 showing, like I said, because landing in the vicinity of 8 to 10 points makes you an RB 20 to 24 right now. That's just how bad running backs are. So something to think about for this week. You might be forced to play them. You might also regret playing them. Wide receiver, Gold. This is the only week I'm going to use him because I know there's probably people out there who are like, well, he hasn't played in a long time. Is he in shape? What's he going to be like? Is he going to see the targets? I'm going to bury that right now. He is going to. DeAndre Hopkins against the New Orleans Saints is my Gold. Screw that it's his first game of the season. Screw if he had to learn anything about this offense. Screw all of that. Throw it all out the window. This man is going to get peppered with targets, 10 plus easy. No Hollywood Brown. Robbie Anderson just joining the team, like you alluded to earlier. Jim has to learn that offense. Zero consistency from any other wide receiver. The only exception to this is Zach Ertz, who will probably, him and Ertz could both see 10 plus targets. Smash plays. Over the last 4 weeks, the Saints have allowed 6 wide receivers to eclipse 15 points, including 3 straight 25 plus point wide receivers. Count this, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be the 4th 25 plus point wide receiver. And they have allowed 3 weeks with a 100-yard wide receiver. Fool's Gold. I'm a little nervous, Jim, about Elijah Moore and the New York Jets. Some veiled tweets popping off there that have you thinking. Garrett Wilson.
What is with wide receivers for these fucking weird ass tweets?
Stop with the veiled
He's
tweets
not the
and just tell us. Tell us what it is. Tell us, please. My fool's gold is anybody in that wide receiver room because Denver, like I said last week, is kind of rebirthing this no-fly zone. Whatever's going on with Elijah Moore, it doesn't seem great. Zach Wilson's struggling. The Jets are leaning on a Russian attack a little bit more because it's their most effective weapons right now. Broncos have allowed 3 straight wide receivers to get over 15 points, with the best being Devontae Adams at 19. That's it. The situation in New York is too volatile for pass catchers, and Denver is playing well against wide receivers, whereas they rank in the bottom half of the league against running backs and tight ends. So probably a good opportunity to roll out Michael Carter, roll out your Breece Hall, roll out your Conklin maybe, or your whatever you might have at the tight end position there. Maybe roll those guys out, but I don't know if you can confidently roll out Wilson and Elijah Moore this week against the Denver Broncos. Last but not least, we'll make it quick on the tight ends. Gold, Hayden Hurst against the Atlanta Falcons. A team's lead tight end has scored 10 plus points in all 6 weeks against the Atlanta Falcons, despite allowing only 1 touchdown. They're allowing it in bulk receptions and yardage. And the yardage isn't pretty. Like we're talking 4, 5, 6 receptions and landing 40, 50 yards. That's all you need in Atlanta, but there is a chance. Hurst has 4 plus targets in 4 of 6 games this year and touchdowns in 2 of the last 3 weeks. He could be the one that cracks the Atlanta Falcons tight end touchdown allowing code. Hurst is the tight end 11 in a messy and volatile position so far this season, so I think you can definitely roll him out. I have him in a league where I have Kyle Pitts. I have played Hayden Hurst over Kyle Pitts. I've been forced into that situation until Kyle Pitts proves otherwise, which maybe he proved a little bit enough last week, but I don't know. Fool's Gold, TJ Hawkinson against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has only allowed 1 tight end to surpass 10 points and have yet to allow a tight end to surpass 50 yards. So volume probably isn't necessarily going to be there. Yardage probably isn't going to be there. So yeah. They've only allowed they do allow actually top 10 receptions. So they are allowing a lot of receptions to tight end position, just not the yardage, just not the fantasy points. And to make matters even worse, they have yet to allow a touchdown to the tight end position. So it's really probably not a good week for TJ Hawkinson.
That really crazy. That's a crazy stat.
Which one?
The no TDs to fucking tight ends. That
Yep.
I found nuts for Dallas. Dallas hasn't let a touchdown in by a Titan. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah. So be careful with
I
that
guess
one.
his entire division's all topsy-turvy. Went from having a winner that didn't have a winning record to 3 teams smashing the NFL now.
They're taking you for
they're
taking you for a roller coaster ride. Let me tell you that. As an Eagles fan, I thought we'd run away with the division once Dak went down, and now I'm staring at a 5-1 New York Giants team and a 4-2 Cowboys team that is getting Dak Prescott back.
G-Man. The fuck?
Anything you want to add, Jim, before we move on?
Man, goes to show how much stake really needs to go in coaching and coaching tendencies. Because you literally are seeing Geno Smith become a better version of what Russell Wilson was doing in Seattle. They will come in and take a dumpster fire of the New York Giants and these motherfuckers to a 5-1 start. This is absolutely insane. Now, will the wheel off in the second half of the season? Only time will tell, but it's absolutely insane, man. This is insane. This is NFL here.
I just can't believe that they're actually considering extending Geno Smith and making him a multi-year quarterback with the team. Like, I mean, I still think it's more of a.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you right now? You're rolling pickles right now.
Yeah, he's playing better than Russell Wilson, playing better than Jared Goff, playing better than a lot of quarterbacks.
Why wouldn't you do 2-year contract extension? Seriously, why wouldn't you do a 2-year contract extension?
I agree with you. Like, I mean, it's like, but hopefully it pans out better than the Pittsburgh
I think you're
Steelers.
going to reach in the 23 class.
You could be at this point.
I think you're going to reach in the 20 class. I think if you did even a 3-year deal with a front and loaded where you could cut him in 24 or 25, it would be okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on
24, and then you can let him go.
I agree with you on that stance, especially because like they're at 5, like what are they at? 3 wins, maybe 3 wins already. You need less wins than that to probably be a top 5 pick in the draft. Like you're already ahead of the win ratio that you need to land a top 5 pick. And I mean, that's not good.
Oh yeah. You can't be here right now and thinking about one of the top quarterbacks. You're already in, like you said. So yeah. Man.
Exactly.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. I like that Jimmy G's a window. I hate you keep picking on the fucking Chiefs. Fuck Derek Carr. That was lucky.
Listen, you can't help it when you have an opportunity to go against a defense or a defense that has to face throw after throw after throw. Like you got to pick the receiving weapons. You got to pick the guy throwing the football. You know you're getting something there. So I'm sorry, Jim, but you got to do. Listen, as long as you get the W, doesn't matter if allow a top 3 fantasy quarterback, because it's pretty much what you guys are doing every single week anyways. You're smashing W's and giving top 3, top 5 quarterbacks.
Well, that's only because we got like a very young secondary happening right now going on, man. Like we got some youth going back there, man, and they're that's just say what it is. And our run defense has never been exactly, but I'm loving that rookie George Greek name, Kafralitis.
Karlaftis.
Yeah, Karlaftis. George Taziki. Oh, no, I'm just kidding, man. No, the guy's fucking awesome.
I love it, man. I love it, man. We'll wrap it up at that. We are going to hit 60 minutes right on the mark for you guys tonight, despite having to cut some things up. But hopefully our strategy talk helped. Hopefully our strategy talk helped. Hopefully you now know what you're doing with your middle of the pack team, your 6-0 team, your 0-6 team. Maybe you still don't know, but definitely keep tuning in. drop into the comments. We'll help you with trades. We'll let you know what trades you should do, maybe not do. Join us every single week, Tuesday night, right here, same time, same place. Rate, review, like, subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Of course, follow Jim at GoldJacketQBs, myself at Connor10. That's TEN, not the number. Check out the whole True North Fantasy Football crew right above Jim's head over there. TrueNorthFFB.com, at TrueNorthFFB on Twitter, and the TNFF Network on YouTube, where you are likely watching us right now. But for now, it's crazy. We're about to, next week, we're going to be talking about the middle point of the season. We are there for fantasy season. We will be reacting to week 7, and we will be prepping you for week 8. And that final playoff push that you're probably going to be making. So make sure you join us here at the Gold Jacket Podcast, and see you next Tuesday.
Now you know I suck at drafting wide.
This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life.